All right, what's up, everybody? Welcome to the Mortgage Coach Tuesday 10X interview. Today we have Sean Herrero as our 10X interview. Today we are going to define what is a modern mortgage advisor. We're going to talk about some of the skills, some of the habits, some of the strategies that the nation's most successful loan officers are implementing. To help me with this interview, I've got the one and only Todd Bookspan. Mr. Win by Noon. What's up, Todd?
I am fired up to be here to have this conversation. And the word that I've been thinking about with regards to the modern mortgage advisor is this whole idea of the evolution, right? That it's changed so much, regardless if you've been in the business 38 years like you, Dave, whether you've been in the business almost 25 years like me, or you've just been in it a few years. There's been an evolution in the business in that time. And for some people, it happened really fast. Some people, it seemed like it was this slow drive. And excited to hear Sean's version of it today as we kind of unpack this idea.
Yeah, so Sean Herrero, welcome to the interview. I've interviewed you a lot, but just for any brand new loan officers here, if you could, one, let us know what market you're in, a little bit about how your production is doing. I heard from Hunter Markwart, you're doing pretty darn good right now. So let us know how your production is, and then we'll get into the topic.
Right on. Yeah, I'm Sean Herrero. I've been a mortgage advisor since 2017, been in mortgage since 2002. I live in the Bay Area in California. I work in California a lot, and then Virginia Beach, Virginia, Texas are my primary markets.
And what
Um,
kind of volume
and
you doing right
volume
now?
wise, I think I'm right under 80 million right. I always forget to check that one for you, but right under 80 million right now, I think.
And where do you think you'll land for the year?
I think we'll close close to 20 million this month. So I'll get my 100 out of this year. And that's, I'm a three-legged stool. It's just me, my loan officer, assistant or teammate, and then a processor. And my processor has been on maternity leave since March or April. So we're a two-legged stool right now. So it's been a ton of work, but it doesn't mean we can do less.
By the way, did you guys hear that he's going to do 20 million this month? So he'll be at 100 million with 2 more months left to go in the year. So, 120 sounds very realistic. And by the way, how are you doing with refis? I mean, rates have come down. How many refis do you have in your in process at the moment?
A fair amount. We missed against my advice. I had a lot of people who said they want to wait longer, and they're kind of like, "Man, we really kind of screwed that up, didn't we?" So, yeah, I have a fair amount of refis. I'd say like majority of our business is purchased, but this month specifically, we'll probably close, I don't know, maybe 12, 15 refis.
Right on, right on. So before we really define a modern mortgage advisor, I want to just go around the three of us and speak to why now is such an important time in the mortgage industry. And so I'm going to give a couple bullet points, then give it to Todd, then give it to you, Sean. So I interviewed Brian Hale recently, who once upon a time was a 200 plus million dollar producer in the um, Northeast market, became the head of production for Countrywide, literally one of the, biggest heads of production in history, has been CEO of a number of mortgage companies, and now he's a mentor and a consultant to a lot of companies. And usually he's pretty bearish. He's not positive on the market. He said the next 5 years in mortgage and real estate are going to be amazing. And he made a really good case for it. There's survivor benefits. We got 100,000 less people. We've now moved into a shift where interest rates are coming down, which is opening up both refi opportunities and it's going to accelerate the purchase business. But he did a really caveat, but not for everybody.
That's
He's
right.
like, like it is going to be amazing, but not for everybody. And basically it came down to people that are status quo LOs. If you are still delivering a fee worksheet at the point of sale, if you have not integrated modern sales practices, if you have not, integrated modern marketing practices. So and by the way, we've had 2 years of winter. There's a lot of people in financial stress, and now opportunity is here. Todd, what are your thoughts? Why is now an important opportunity and time in the
I think
market?
he's disappointed everyone. You were like Oprah, you were giving away the card to everyone, and you're like, well, but not for all of you in the audience, just for some of you. And I think we know what we've been kind of stacked up against, right? The majority of loans have a 3 in front of them or below, right? So those folks are still, kind of there, but I think there's opportunity there. So I think it's always, are we going to look at it with the half glass empty or the half glass full? And then how are you going to take advantage of it, right? You talked about fee worksheets, and obviously this is the Trust Engine Mortgage Coach YouTube channel, and we're going to always talk about total cost analysis and how that's evolved, and how Trust Engine has evolved to help folks. But there's tools out there that we can all use to be better, and are we going to use those tools to improve us? And then are we going to look at the different areas of our business and figure out in each different area of the modern mortgage advisor, what is one thing or maybe two things max in each area that you can focus on over the next 30, 60, 90 days to get better. And so I love hearing that the next 5 years is going to be great. And my question for all of you watching this is, what are you going to do to make sure that you're one of the people who actually gets to raise their hands and take advantage of it?
Love that. Sean, your thoughts on why now is an important time?
I think I'll back up to say that when you said the next 5 years will be great, a lot of people listening to this got really excited, and then you said it's not for everybody, right? And the last 3 years have been really great for a lot of people, but not for everybody. Like, the market doesn't matter, interest rates don't matter. What you choose to do and the way you solve problems for people is truly all that matters. And right before we jumped on, Dave and I were just kind of talking about strategy versus tactics, right? Your strategy matters more than your tactics. And my favorite pillar that we'll talk about later is mindset, because I feel that that's what's been missing this whole time. So what I want for people that are listening to this is, I want you to get fired up. I want you to leave this call like, you know what? I'm not willing to accept what I've accepted the last 2 years. I'm going to do something different, and then go do it.
Dude, that was so good. We're going to have to create a little piece of micro content with that. So I'm actually going to show a couple slides that are going to be, I'm doing a keynote later for PRMG, and a couple of my slides. But just to continue to make the case, I mean, I started my career right here. And most people on this call, you started your career somewhere along this road. I mean, not everybody's been doing it as long as I have. But what's happened your entire career? Rates went down. And then they went up, And so where you started and where you're at today matters. And to Sean's point, like, some people are winning even in these tough markets. And I have won in every market. Like, this is me when I started, a couple of years in, and I've never been more fired up, because this is the market. Like, when you look at most mortgages in America, they're in the twos, the threes, and the low fours. And guys, this is where actually we're a little higher than 6.2 right now. Rates have gone up a little bit from this number. I got to update that. But when you talk to most economists out there, conservatively, this is where they think, the medium is going to get. Optimists think they're going to get into the fours again. The major optimists think it could get in the low fours. But by the way, guys, it's not going to get in the twos and threes where most mortgages are. So it's never been more important that you're an advisor, that you're a modern mortgage advisor. Sean, anything you want to add to that slide, or any points you want to make?
No, I'll butcher it a little bit, but I'm at our sales rally, and one of the economists from Fannie Mae spoke right before I ran back up here, and he was saying, right as I was leaving, that he thinks rates are going to stay higher for longer, and that the reason we have such a limit of inventory is because 60 to 70% of the move up buyers are in that 2 to 3 range. So that 60-70% of people who aren't going to move up, they're just going to stay because their payment would more than double today. He's like, so that's what's squeezing the inventory. It's when you look at the percentage of people demographically in those rates, it just squeezes the inventory even more, which is why I say rates don't matter. If rates come down 1% and you didn't close any loans the last 2 years, who are you refinancing? If rates come down and one person sells a house, but he also has to buy a house, we're net zero on additional inventory. So the market doesn't matter, rates don't matter. You have to create your own market.
Yeah, and it's never been more competitive. I mean, you've got the Sean Herreras, the Jeremys that are using tech, that are advisors. You've got servicers that have never been better at getting there first, and never been better at being sharp on price. And so it's time to elevate. So Todd, before we start unpacking some of Sean's tactics and strategies, anything else you want to add to frame the call?
I mean, you kind of nailed it, right? The market is not going to be as great as we want, but there's still people doing business, right? And we've talked about the fact that the best of the best are still here, but I think it's super clear on what we need to do right now as loan officers to kill it, right? We've got to be better, we've got to be faster, we got to be able to convert loans in a way to outdistance the competition, especially when the servicers are getting better. And so ultimately, if the people are still using the traditional methods of trying to get loans closed, that's how you're going to beat them. That's how you're going to be the person who gets the free car from Oprah, who is part of the good group. And I just think there's a huge gap right now between those that are doing what Sean said. So I wrote it down, right? He said that the way you solve problems for people is what matters, right? I know the loan officers that I'm talking to who are having record months are the ones that are figuring out how to do business the way that others can't get it done. They're doing the hard loans, they're rolling up their sleeves. And so that's the market we're in. And it's pretty clear if you just choose to take that path. And it's just going to take getting a little bit better in some of the areas that we're going to talk about of, I think, what is a modern mortgage advisor.
Yeah. And so I actually keep this in my workspace. These are the 8 pillars of the modern mortgage advisor. And I have a feeling I know which one's your favorite, Sean, but when you think of what is a modern mortgage advisor, and there's like skills, there's habits, there's tactics, there's strategies, just kind of start it defining there's mindset, which, let's face it, everything is about mindset. There's leadership, both self-leadership, team leadership. There's technology. I mean, we live in a world that's driven by technology. Everybody on this call, you're either watching it live on Zoom, technology, you're watching it on YouTube, technology. There's advice, true value. There's sales, being a, modern sales IQ, and sales has changed. Personal brand. It's great to have Sean here. He's got one of the most well-known, well-recognized personal brands. Modern marketing. And then there's money. Like, if you're a mortgage professional, you make money, you save money, you invest money. You know money so well you can teach money to the people you serve. Sean, where do you want to start on these 8 pillars? Like, where do you want to start teaching and advocating? As though
Yeah,
I don't
my,
know
I'm
the
obsessed.
answer.
Yeah, sorry. Is it on my shirt? um, Dave's Dave's obsessed with impact this year. That was his slogan for 2024. Mine retroactively became obsessed with mindset, and I think I'm just going to keep that rolling through 2025. Um, Mindset isn't optimism. It's being willing to overcome and do hard things sometimes. And did we choose that the last 2 years? Did you choose going, you know what, this is going to be really tough, but I'm excited to go through it? And Dave and I were just talking about kind of like, doing training, go on a walk, you put on a ruck, it's 20-pound vest, you make things a little harder than they need to be because it makes you better. And so you don't take the easy path, you take the harder path because the bigger reward's always on the other side. So my favorite, I would almost like, mine is mindset. And then I put the 7 pillars in the middle of that because you have to go into every single pillar with the right mindset, in my opinion. And a lot of them, as you were reading them off, they all kind of, and I think we'll see a little bit of this on how I do things today, but they kind of run together for me. I'm like, oh, I have a little of that, a little of that. I'm not great at that one, but they all kind of fall together.
Yeah, it's really interesting you called that out. And it's almost as though within every pillar there is a mindset, and without that, like, advice, to go from I'm a fee worksheet loan officer to I'm an advisor. It starts with mindset. Uh, Building a personal brand. It starts with mindset. So I mean, you're right. Todd, any thoughts on that?
Well, it makes me think of you, Dave, right? You've been on this winning by 7 a.m. streak, and it's your mindset, right? It's how do you get out of bed? How do you get going? Jonathan Roach, who we've had on here many times, who's my coach, he's all about the fact that you get to stand at that podium every morning and you get to choose your voice. Are you choosing the negative voice or the positive voice in your head? Because it's so easy. The statistics on the number of times we think negatively about things and mainly about ourselves in a day is staggering. And so I do think, as much as I said I love money IQ, I feel like you're right. Their mindset, Sean, is at the center of it, right? It's the heart and soul of all of these. And I think that that's the key is, how are you going to approach each and every day? Because each and every day, regardless of whether you won the day before or not, you've got to get up and you've got to go out there and you've got to be your best and it's a choice. I mean, unfortunately, it's not, you're not going to have someone else lighting a fire under your ass. Most likely, it's probably got to be you.
Yeah. So let's spend 5 or so minutes on mindset, Sean, maybe 10, because that's your favorite
Yeah.
one before we get to another pillar. I do want to call out something where I think there's a modern part of mindset. And the modern part of mindset is we have social media and we have Instagram and we have our mobile app. And by the way, it can be a really powerful mindset enhancing tool. Like if you're following the right people, if you're taking time and listening, like I got a text from Denise Donahue. She texted myself and Jeremy, and it was like an awesome mindset message. And it was 1 minute of an extremely good use of Instagram, and it enhanced my mindset. I actually posted it in my story today. Check it out. But you know what? For that 1 minute of gold, there is like countless minutes of sucking away your mindset. Not like I have a little timer. I know how to set it up. If you don't, you should. On my iPhone, I can say, hey, when I get to 15 minutes of Instagram in a day, time me out. And sometimes I'll go extend it and I'll get
Yeah.
more. But I know when I got 15 minutes of Instagram. And so knowing, following the right people, unfollowing the right people, making sure that you're spending your time. So by the way, that's a modern twist on mindset management. Sean, if you had to give a piece of advice, it doesn't have to be like modern, it could just be mindset. What would be an advice to anyone watching this that would help them elevate?
I think we have to analyze how we look at things. And I think anytime there's dark, there's light, and it's our job to find it. I'll give a quick example. I went to a mental toughness training in LA by a SEAL friend of mine. Basically, you get beat up in the sand for 6 hours straight. And the night before, so we were at Universal Studios for my little guy's birthday, had to drive an hour to go to Santa Monica, leave the hotel at 4, get to the beach at 5. Thing starts at 6. Waiting for the sun to come up. No one's there. And I'm like, yeah, it's getting a little closer. Still no one's there. I had a videographer come because I wanted to like have a video of that I could share. He gets there. He comes up from Temecula, hour and a half drive easy. Dude, isn't this where my other sons did this? He's like, yeah, this is a spot. I call my buddy and I'm like, hey, are we at the wrong beach? And he calls me back. He's like, dude, we canceled that. Like we only had one registration. And I was like, yeah, I guess that's me. He's like, I feel terrible. My assistant was supposed to like let you know. I thought this was all handled. And I was like, well, I guess I'm getting a lesson in mental toughness right now because I can choose to be furious and feel bad for myself that I drove all the way over here in an Uber and spent money and had to pay my videographer even though he didn't do anything. I could go down this like anger, woe is me path, or is this making me mentally stronger? Right. And he goes, I mean, I got a terrible joke, but I go ahead and say it because I think I know what it is. Like, I mean, you're going through mental toughness right now. And I just kept that theme for the rest of the day. And he goes, look, it's about a 5-mile walk to the Santa Monica pier. I didn't have shoes because I thought I was going to be in the sand the whole time. I just had flip-flops. And so I had a choice then. It was like, okay, I can get in my Uber, just go back to the hotel, but it's 6:30. The sun just came up. I might as well walk to, I'll take his advice and I'll walk down the sand to the beach. It wasn't hard, but I just realized there were these choices in those moments of how I wanted to react. I could have gone really pissed off about all these things and made it his fault and their fault, or I could just accept that it is what it is. I can't change or control it. So what do you do now? I could have gone back in an Uber, or I could have gone for a 5-mile walk. And then we just kept that going throughout the day. And as bad things happened, our flight got delayed 3 hours. And I just kept this positive mindset through every single little challenge. There was no hot water when I got back to the hotel. Like all these little things happened that could have been bad. And I just chose to look at him different as like, okay, I'm getting better. And it is what it is. Like, what do you do? And I like that example. And then I'll just give you one of the modern versus unmodern loan officers. I was talking to a buddy of mine yesterday at our little cocktail reception at our sales rally. haven't seen him in years. And he's like, how have things been? And do you still drive your van all over the place? And I was like, no, a lot of this happens virtually now. I'm not going to real estate offices as much as I used to, unfortunately. And he's like, I feel like I lost some of my best realtors because guys like you were going in when I kind of stayed quiet. They were just feeding me business and I was getting everything done quick and smooth for them. And then all of a sudden they stopped referring me and I didn't know what I did. And I'm like, it's not what you did, it's what you didn't do. You didn't evolve, right? And it's like, so now what? Like, now that you've had that realization, are you going to keep doing what you've always done? Or are you going to start to take those steps to be more modern? Because that's what everybody wants and needs. And it's up to him, right? There's nothing I can say or do to change what he does, and it's, do you want it? And I think that's what it comes down to is you're just because you have a good mindset doesn't mean you have to be in a, I want to do $1 billion a year mindset. I don't have that mindset, but what do you want? And I think you get clear on what you want and then you move forward. Sorry, that was more than 5 minutes.
That's okay. We go as you're the special
Here's my
guest. Todd,
rant.
anything you want to add on to that before we get to the next question?
I mean, I love that. Do you want it, right? I think it's the whole thing is, what do you do when your day doesn't go right? One of the classic Dave Savage mortgage coach YouTube interviews is Simon Sinek. I don't think most people know that you interviewed Simon back in the day, and he talked about mindset. And I don't remember how you got there, but it's a story. There's two things I remember about the interview. Number one is he said that his loan officer he had sucked and he wished that they were a mortgage coach. And number two, he talked about the fact that when you're driving down the road and get caught off in traffic, that he has a choice that he chooses to make, that when the person cuts him off at the last minute to sneak in to get off the exit in California traffic, that he just assumes the person must be late for the world's most important job interview, and that's why they were a jerk. That's why they passed all the people that were in a line for a mile and they thought they could cut it at the last minute. And then he kind of goes, oh, or they're just an asshole. But all the time, I mean, there's not a day that goes by where my daughter and I are driving to school, we get cut off, and my daughter's like, hey, Dad, that person's really late for that super important job interview. And it's really important, right? We all can get hijacked really easily in our day. So I love your example of it, Sean. And I think that we all have examples of it. It's just what do we choose to do at that point?
Yeah, and I'm going to find that Simon Sinek quote and share it in chat. So stay tuned on that because that was a really special interview. But I remember it vividly. It was after he knew about Mortgage Coach. He goes, I wouldn't use that loan officer again because clearly they cared more about their own interest than about my interest. And so he had that perspective. It was about the care. So for the rest of the call, I want you to think about this. And if you have been through the assessment for the modern mortgage advisor, you'll know this. But there's things that like there's things that Sean just said that like, I know that. And then there's things that you heard that Sean's like, I'm doing that. And then there's knowing things so well that you know it, you do it, and you can teach it. And then level 4 is you can teach it and it's a personal habit. By the way, how many people can teach something, but it's not your habit? Like you can teach it, you do it sometimes, but it's not like a habit. And then guys, we're level 5 at everything. And I want you to think am I a modern mortgage advisor? Do I know it? Do I do it? Could I teach it? Is it a habit? And by the way, do my results prove it? That is when you've become level 5 at something. So as we go through these pillars, we're not going to necessarily go through all 8 pillars, but I think we could check mindset off. Well, I guess one last question, Sean, before we move on to the next pillar that you want to talk about. If there was one book that people should read that you think would elevate their mindset right now, or a book that they could read and share with a realtor, I know what my book is, but what's yours? If there was one book, what would be the mindset book?
I don't know if I guess it is a mindset book, The Alchemist. I think every single person needs to read The Alchemist. And then once you finish it, start it over. Like I've read that book no less than 10 times and it's different every time.
And by the way, guys, that is Kobe Bryant's all-time favorite book. My son read it recently. I've always recommended as my number one book, The Four Agreements, but The Alchemist is now in the first place. I just finished it for the first time a couple of weeks ago. I did the audiobook, so I like that. Well, my one book would be The Gap in the Gain. That book was a game changer for me about a year ago. Todd, any book recommendations on mindset before we move on?
Well, it's funny. I would have said the gap and the gain also. So I'll just throw out another Ben Hardy, Dan Sullivan collab. 10x is easier than 2x, right? Why not think bigger? Well, if you're going to think about it, think about going 10x versus just going 2x. And if you start running that filter through a lot of your decisions, you're going to realize that you're probably spending a lot of your time focusing on the wrong things.
Right on, right on. All right. So one, if you're on this call and there's a pillar that you would like us to talk about on these 8 pillars of the modern mortgage advisor, let us know what that pillar is. I'll show it again in a minute. Also, if you go to modernmortgageiq.com, there's you can see all the pillars somewhere on that webpage, modernmortgageiq.com, if you want to see what the 8 pillars are. Sean, what's the next pillar of a modern mortgage advisor that you'd like to talk about?
Uh, Let me look at a picture of it. I'll talk about any of them because I think they all
Well,
matter.
here, I'll just show it on the screen real quick and you
Yeah,
can
I've
just
got.
pick it. And there you go, guys. We're giving you another chance to look at it. Tell us if there is we'll get to probably half of these in this call. We'll touch on all of them, but if there is a pillar and you're in the audience, actually, I'm going to make a survey between now and next time I talk so that you guys can vote on this. But Sean, which one do you want to talk about next?
Um, let's do Money IQ. That's Todd's favorite. Let's do that one.
All right, cool. So when you think of having a modern mortgage IQ, describe it from a Sean Herrero perspective.
I think it's financial literacy. I think it's understanding good and bad money habits. I think we all know what the good habits are. It's do we choose them or not? And then I think it's looking at money in a different way and always being willing to learn how things work.
Okay, that's simple. Any more meat on the bones? I think there's more to it than that.
No,
Any
you guys
additional?
go. It's Todd, you
Todd, your
unpack it. It's
turn.
Todd's favorite.
I mean, I would say start with practice what you preach, right? I would say I try to stay off my soapbox on this one, but when I've talked to loan officers in the last 30 days who are like, oh, I had to go sell my Rolex, I know that we all are the captain of the wealth team. And I think you do a great job of educating your clients on how to integrate a mortgage into wealth building and how to build it into your overall short and long-term financial and investment plan. But the question is, are you really living that yourself, right? And so that's why I think it's really important. And obviously, Dave, you and I and Kristen have spent a ton of time. We've got a large number of ambassadors now supporting First Home IQ, and the fact that we've really invested not just our money but our time into financial literacy. And I feel like that's got to be the tip of the arrow of the spear, whatever you would call it, when you're having conversations. And I would just tell you, when I'm out in the world, we've all been there where you tell someone, what do you do? And you're like, oh, I help people live the American dream, or I do mortgages, or however you say that. When you tell someone, hey, I'm out there teaching financial literacy to the kids of America, I mean, people are like, whoa, tell me about that. I think it's just such something that everybody wants and needs. And I talked about it. I jumped in with my team over the summer doing annual financial reviews with clients. And I told them all that. Well, what are you up to, Todd? These are people that when I secretly did all my loans during COVID, that I got to know again, right? They were past clients, new clients. And I just said, oh, I've got this thing I'm really passionate about, a nonprofit called First Home IQ. And it didn't matter what their age was, whether it was 30 or 60 or 80, they were like, oh gosh, I could use that as well. And so I just think if you can be better at money IQ for yourself, then you can do a better job with your clients.
Yeah, I like the direction you went with that, Sean. And I would just push everybody to think about money and remember the 5 levels. I know it, I do it, I can teach it. It's a habit, and my results show it. And I would really put things in a couple columns. Like one, making money. Like you got to make money, investing money, doing good with money, like purpose, if you donate money. But as a modern mortgage advisor, you need to be able to teach money IQ to people, and you need to be able to teach it at scale. To be an advisor, the pillar of advice, in order to have the pillar of advice, you need to have like a pretty high money IQ, like Sean. At some point, whether it's his idea or my idea, we're gonna touch on advice. And right now, there are refis. And the way you deliver advice to optimize conversion of refis requires a certain level of money IQ. So before we go on this, I just pushed the poll question. If you guys could vote on this, what modern mortgage IQ pillar do you want to talk about today? And guys, I want to get 50% of the audience voting on this. So let's get the votes in. So far, mindset's marketing is winning right now. So we're getting the most voting for marketing. We're getting the second most votes for mindset. We already kind of spent a lot of time on that. By the way, this will help me in future content, where to focus. So please, everybody, like guys, we've got like 42% of you have voted. Everybody, like if you don't hit the vote button, I'm going to assume that you're multitasking and you're not listening and you're on the phone talking to someone. So guys, there we go. I got a spike. So here were
All
the
out.
results. Yeah, here were the results of the quiz. I'm going to take a quick screenshot on that. So it is interesting that money came in last. That's I don't know if that's
Boo.
completely surprising.
But do
Although
you
I'm
think
okay
that
with it because money's the result. Although I don't know what any comments on this,
Maybe it's
Sean?
because I already covered
Worth
it,
sharing?
Dave. Sean, I did such a
yeah,
great job talking
Well,
about it.
we already covered mindset, and it came in
All right.
second.
Okay. Listen, that's all
I
good.
think
Sean, you were going to
sorry,
say
I just want to say the marketing one's interesting to me because, and you guys tell me if I'm wrong in the chat, but I think people go, if I can market more, I can do more, and then I'll have more money. I can't worry about the money because I don't have it, so I have to market first. Um, and marketing is a super interesting one to me. So yeah, we can go down that rabbit hole if everybody wants to.
Yeah, well, we got to cover it because the audience said we want to look at it. So I would push people to put like when you say marketing, what specifically do you want to talk about? And I just want to know what you want to talk about, and then I know how I define it. Sean, you want to go first on marketing? When you think of modern marketing, what what comes to mind?
Advice, like what Dave says, and I'm gonna like twist everything around on everyone because again, we're at our sales rally. They're just talking about how great our marketing system is for flyers and programs and this and that, and we should be marketing those things. That's not what marketing is. Marketing is getting people to talk about you. And the best way to get people to talk about you faster is to give them better advice that they tell their friends about. So that's what marketing has been to me. I say that the number one marketing tool I have is the client experience that I create. That's how I get more realtors. That's how I get more referrals. That's how I get more repeat business because I've taken something that isn't traditionally marketing and made it marketing. And maybe that's part of the personal brand at the same time. But I don't know that that's the right answer, what anyone wanted to hear, but that's the truth.
Well, I'm going to give my answer. So, first of all, what's different about modern marketing, and to Sean's point, it's expanded. Like when people think of traditional marketing, they think of email database, they think of direct mail, they might think of telemarketing. Now, I think it's social media, so it's all one, and it's all one thing. But to Sean's point, advice, like delivering something that has so much value to a consumer that they'd actually be willing to pay money. That's modern marketing. The convergence of, and for the most part, email marketing and social marketing, multi-channel marketing. Like if you listen to the interview I did with Jeremy last week, and I asked him like, how are you winning with refis? He's like, well, first I have a list, so be clear on his list. That's modern marketing. Oh, that's traditional. But here's where it gets modern is he calls, he texts, and he emails all in the same day. And he does that in a sequence so that it stands out to people like, oh, this is important. And he's also giving consumers three different channels in which to communicate with him. Modern marketing. And he's giving a mortgage coach total cost analysis, so he's giving value. Modern marketing. Sean, any thoughts on that?
Um, yeah, that's that to me. So that's what I'm saying. That's advice. Jeremy's marketing the way Jeremy markets is through advice, and he's making a sense of urgency out of the opportunity that's available, right? It's not a flyer, it's not a postcard, it's not a mailer. It's the way that Jeremy provides advice. What does he say? All good people deserve great advice, something like that.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
He kind of
And,
took his philosophy and made it into a marketing what's that called? Slogan.
yeah, yeah. And then he also has posts on social media. You see Denise Donoshoe, she'll give advice and then she'll create a version and put it on her story and it will be in Instagram. And then both of them, well, I don't know if Jeremy's on YouTube, Denise is on YouTube, Kelly Zittler's on YouTube. They're telling stories and strategies around how they're giving advice and they're amplifying it and distributing it on YouTube. So again, modern marketing is being this incredibly valuable person one-on-one, and then it's distributing that through multiple channels, through multiple technology platforms. Todd, anything you want to add on this to make sure we crush it for the community?
Well, you're talking about proof, right? You're providing proof of the customer experience of the advice. And so you've got the two parts of it, right? We've got two people we're going after. We're going after the consumer with marketing, and then we're also going after real estate agents with marketing. So if you've done a good job connecting with real estate agents on social as well, then you have the opportunity for them to see the documentation of the advice and to say, gosh, you know what? I want to work with Sean because Sean gives great advice. And so I would just think through from a marketing perspective, what is your client experience like? Is it modern? Is it world class? Or is it average? And how can you up that? And then I would be thinking about then how do you actually get your referral partners and prospective partners the experience of that as well? How can you invite them if you're doing it via Zoom onto Zoom and show them what you're walking your clients through and show them a total cost analysis? If you're doing it in person, invite them into your office and walk them through it in person. That's really how you're going to impact it. Just one more way to take that marketing in a different direction than what most people think.
Yeah. And guys, here is the North Star to what's modern. The North Star to what's modern is the fastest and most efficient way of doing something that creates the most value and convenience for the consumer. And right now, in today's world, usually it's created or consumed on a device, on technology. Like at the end of the day, again, I said North Star. Like there are exceptions to that, but that is what's modern. And then I want everybody to ask you, you know it, you do it. Can you teach it? Is it a habit? And do your results support it? And if you don't have all three of those, then that's just like, hey, I need to work on that. Sean, anything else well, actually, this would be a good point. I would love because I think the way you're doing refis and using Mortgage Coach, it checks the box of advice. It checks the box of modern marketing. It checks the box of modern selling. It checks the box of money. Uh, I mean, it literally, in some ways, checks all the boxes. You mind walking us through your sales process with
Yeah,
rate and term refis right now?
I'll walk you through my service process. I don't have a sales process.
Boom. That's
So I want to, I can't see the full name, but someone said, having been in the business for 30 years and gone through several refi markets, I have never seen so many of today's clients saying they want to wait because they have heard rates are going lower. And that's absolutely true. And I think all of us are saying that we agree that rates will go lower. So when you're trying to do refinances, why are you trying to do them? Are you doing them for the benefit of others, or are you doing them for the benefit of self? And that is the question. So with that, I really am glad that I can't see who posted it, but whoever posted that, I'm glad you did, because it frames this whole conversation perfectly. Because not everyone should refinance right now, right? It doesn't make sense for everyone to, but it does make sense for some. So are you doing it in a way that you're just trying to convince others to do what you want them to do so you can make money? Or are you doing it for the benefit of others in service? So I'm going to show you the service approach that I'm using for refinancing. Oh, give me one sec. Man, I had it all organized too. Let's see.
Worry
Okay,
about
here we
it.
go. Sorry.
This is a classroom environment.
Yeah. Okay, so I need to do. Oh, that's why I'm used to having two screens. I was like, why can't I see this? Okay. Um, so this one is what I would tell if somebody should wait. And I literally told this buyer to wait. I copied it over and to protect the innocent. So her current rate's 6.95%. She could have refinanced at 6.45. To Dave's point, he said earlier, it's probably higher today, but she could save, I can't move me. She can save $214 a month. She'll save $8,700 in 5 years and $21,000 in interest in the next 10 years. That seems like a refinance that makes sense, but it doesn't. It doesn't make sense for her to do that because she won't have this mortgage for 5 years if I think she's going to refinance, right? So if I presented it this way, I promise you I could present this and probably get her to refinance, but is it the right thing to do, right? I would rather tell her it's not the right thing to do. My advice is let's not do this yet. Unless $200 is going to make an absolute difference in your life, let's wait until it goes a little lower because I want you to have a shorter break-even point. So if I change the 60 months to, I'm in the wrong one. If I change the 60 months to a shorter term, so let's say 12 months, because I think she'd probably refinance in the next 12 months. Then her break-even point, she's negative $138. So she has not yet saved enough money in interest to overcome the cost of her refinance. And there are no out-of-pocket costs, but that doesn't mean it's free. And I say this to everyone, you're using your equity instead of your cash to pay for your refi. Okay, please do not say you'll refi people for free. Please don't say there's no cost. You can say there's no out-of-pocket expenses, but explain why. So for her, I don't think you should refinance yet because your break-even point's a year away, and I think you'll refinance before then and you'll save even more money. So in good conscience, I can't tell you to do it yet. So this is how I talk people out of refinancing, which is a crazy strategy, right? Like everyone's like, why is Sean on this call today? She's going to tell her friends, right? Like this is a marketing strategy of, hey, I just talked to my guy and he's told me not to because he thinks I'll save more money later. And he made it make complete sense. What'd your guy say? Well, they just sent me a postcard that said I could get 4.99 if I act now. Like that's who I'm up against. I would rather do this for people.
Now, for the people you are helping with refis, because you are helping them, let's, this is your service process. Fine. Let's see how you service them.
Okay. Dave's not interested in making people wait. So this is a deeper dive. I switched this one up. Let me change this view real quick because I want to show, I modeled a few things out here in the spirit of advice. So let me get rid of a couple of tabs. Okay. Okay, so this is how I would analyze, not sell, if somebody could benefit from refinancing now. And I'll let them make their own educated decision, but it's my job to provide the education and them to make the decision. So this buyer bought his house at 7.65. He could lower his rate by a full %. He's going to save $579 a month. His break-even point's in 5 months. Does it make sense for this guy to refinance knowing that he'll probably do it again later? What are the odds of him refinancing again within those 5 months? I would say pretty slim, especially given what's going on right now, right? You have no out-of-pocket expenses. We rolled the cost into your loan, so using equity instead of cash. Your break-even points in 5 months. If $580 is worthwhile to you, I think we should do this refinance now, knowing we're probably going to do another one next year. What do you think? And then I let them answer. And then, the net worth part, you could shorten that term. Because again, if I'm talking about what's going to happen next year, why am I showing him 5 years? Like, let's speak to what we're speaking to and let the data support or contradict the advice. So the interest savings, oh, that's surprising. The interest savings is $2,000. That doesn't make sense. I got to figure out why that's off.
Yeah, you didn't go to the next screen. You didn't like that edit you make.
Oh, I didn't take. Oh, I think I did. Yeah. Long term. Oh, that's what I wanted to change. Interest. So, how much interest will he save in a year? He's going to save $8,000 in interest in 12 months. Do I think he'll have this new mortgage for 12 months? No, but I think the risk of him refinancing quote unquote too soon is pretty minimal considering his break-even points in 5 months. And that is, so going back to the comment about, I've never heard so many people say that they're going to wait for rates to go lower. I was telling every single person, I was telling this guy, let's wait, right? Don't do it yet. I don't want you to incur costs unnecessarily. And then I went, wait a second, that could be bad advice. If he stays in his loan too long, my advice is costing him money and interest instead of closing costs. And that's bad advice. Maybe I need to rethink this whole approach. And that's what I did. So it's like a temporary refinance, right? Like this is temporary. You're only going to have this loan for a little bit, and then we're probably going to do it again. But based on the data, it seems like it makes sense to do it now.
Cool. And then I know you had some other tabs there. I want to make sure you give the full lesson of how to analyze this.
I'll go to the next piece, but like on that strategy, what do you two think? I've never talked to either of you about this. So
I love it.
Well, I think it's a master class for loan officers and branch managers to teach their loan officers, because ultimately, I think a lot of, if people have the hesitation because rates are going lower, you just said, I tell them this and I give them the choice, right? Your goal here is to allow the numbers to tell the story, and then you get to hang a little bit of explanation on it. But in the end, if you take the time to do this deep dive with your clients, then you're giving them advice. You're helping them make a choice. They can decide. You would have some clients, you just said it, hey, if the $200 will make a big difference in your life for the previous person, then save the $200. And I think that's where, we get caught up. We always have to remember to put ourselves in their shoes and not ours. And then that's when you're not a salesman, you're actually someone doing a service.
And I'll give another example of someone I refinanced.
Well, and another thing is I love that everyone you touch is getting some financial literacy. They're getting smarter about mortgage. You're teaching them how to make mortgage decisions in the way that best serves their interests and their goals. So yeah, I'm a big fan because it is truly advice. Your advice makes a difference. And you are truly making this person money smarter so that they can achieve the American goal, which is home ownership and financial freedom. So I love that.
And the one thing I'll give you, just to Todd's point. So some people aren't in like the best situation. I helped somebody refinance. This was a game changer for me on the perception of the economy. They refinanced to the exact same rate they had simply because they needed to pull equity out to pay their property taxes. They had no money, right? They had burnt through everything. And I was like, you guys, we can't refinance. Now the rates are the same. They're like, Sean, we can't pay our property taxes. That's a beneficial refinance, right? Does it fit the money IQ that we would all want? No. But in those situations, that refinance was a game changer for them, even though it cost them a little bit of money, right? So not every answer is the same. That's why I say it's service, not sales, because you can't just make this one size fits all. You've got to look and apply it to everyone. And if you're not presenting Mortgage Coach either through Zoom or like even if you're on a phone call, you make sure they have it up as well, because as you're making these changes live, it's conversation, right? This isn't a sales pitch. This is a conversation we're having together to figure out if it's the right solution for you. And then if you wanted to take it further, because if you are going to save $580 per month, what are you going to do with that? Like, I don't want you to go buy a car that has a $580 a month payment. You can if you want to, but I would much rather see that money work for you. So let's look at the other things you can do. So I built in a free and clear faster if you want to pay off your mortgage quicker, or do you want to invest those funds? So we don't need to look at the current mortgage anymore. We've kind of covered that this refi makes sense. So now what do we do? And I try to have no more than 3 tabs at a time. Otherwise, it feels a little overwhelming. So if we come in here, so if I took the $579 to reduce and just kept paying, right? So I'm going to overpay my mortgage. I would pay off the loan in 22 years, right? So I'm just going to keep paying what I'm already paying, right? My auto pay is already set up at $54.41 and 21 cents. I'm going to update my new mortgage servicing company, and then I'm going to pay off my loan 8 years faster than I would have. Or I can invest that money in the market. I got to change that back. And by the way, how I'm
By the way,
balancing,
he's giving you a master class, and he's going to go back into the analysis screen.
but
He's going to change it
I'm
to net
doing this on
worth.
the phone with clients. Like everything we're doing, I'm not embarrassed when I go, oh, shoot, let me show you something else, because it makes it authentic and real for them. So now I made the net worth in 1 year. I should make that longer because now it's a
Yeah,
different
I was going
conversation.
to say I would move
It's
that to
so we'll go.
at
But the
least.
first step I had to do is show how much
And by the
interest
way,
you're.
what about changing the 5 months to 1 or 2 years, and then so there's a you know like make that at least a year, if not a couple of years. Okay, make it 5 years.
Well, just because if we're doing, and now if we're having a long-term conversation, it's different. But if I'm this guy who said, look, let's refinance now, knowing that you'll probably refi later. I'm not as concerned with the savings, the short-term savings, because now it's strategic. How do we make this money work for you long-term? How do we make your money multitask? So keep making the payment you're making now. You'll pay off your house in 22 years, right? You're going to save 8 years. And this is something I just noticed that I thought was interesting. If you invest the money instead, you invest that 579 in the market at 7%, your net worth is this just about the same either way, right? If you do principal pay down, you'll have $873,000 in equity in your house in 10 years. And if you invest the difference, you'll have equity of 775 and $100,000. So your $579 at 7% turns into $100,000 in just 10 years. But your net worth is almost the same, right? And I would say that live with him, be like, that's crazy. I never noticed that before. Which idea do you like? And by the way, it doesn't matter to me what you choose. You can do 579 1 month, turn that off, then put money in the market. You can do whatever you want, but we're just showing them how quickly their money can work for them. And I just don't know a better way to illustrate these options than using MortgageCoach.
Love,
Well, I
love.
think a great example too is use your property tax person, right? If they would have done this with their previous mortgage, they would have had enough money for the property tax, right? If they had a
Yeah.
saving, if they had any type of a savings methodology.
Yeah. And that's where you try to hope, like with those examples, that's where we get to give advice. We get to focus on money IQ. It feels really good when you take somebody that maybe didn't understand how they could use the equity they already have, like that person's cash poor, but has tons and tons of equity in their home. Look at what you can do, and you give them a new savings goal or a new strategy moving forward. Hey, you guys should have an escrow account. Then you'll never have to worry about not being able to pay your property taxes again. And by the way, I'm refinancing that client right now, lowering the rate 1% from when they did that last time. So
let's stop sharing the screen, and we got 8 minutes left. And guys, I want you to write down this quote, because this is important. Like, the illiterate of the 21st century will not be those who cannot read and write, but those who cannot learn, unlearn, and relearn. And we've just touched the tip of the iceberg of what it means to be a modern, level 5 modern originator. And so, guys, if you are on this call and you're a branch manager, you are the MVP of the mortgage industry, because not only are you responsible for your own success, most of you are producing branch managers, very few non-producing. But if you're producing, you're responsible for your success, and you should be responsible for elevating and upgrading the team that you have. If you're a non-producing, it's all about your team. And then if you're a loan officer, you're not a manager. Hopefully you have a manager that's leaning into you and helping you. Many of you don't. So, I mean, it's never been more important to upgrade and become that modern mortgage advisor. So I can't, we talked about this at Scriptapalooza, but there is a new platform called the Modern Mortgage IQ. Many of you have already signed up. You're already active in that community. It is dedicated to upgrading loan officers into modern mortgage advisors. All of the past 5 years of all the micro content from the Modern Mortgage Summit and the Modern Real Estate Summit have been put into that platform. Todd and I are both well, actually, Sean's a guide too. We're among the first guides that are part of this platform. And what makes it super special is not only is it in a very elite group of both mortgage advisors that are like passionate to be level 5 mortgage advisors, and managers that are upgrading themselves and upgrading their teams. but it's all dedicated to being level 5 in all 8 pillars of the modern mortgage IQ. So I'm pumped to be a guide. Sean, I know you created a guided experience. Why are you pumped to be a guide in this platform? And tell everybody a little bit about the platform or the modern or the guided experience you created.
Well, first off, I love the platform because there's all these levels. Like what we're talking about right now, we could go on for a couple more hours and really get deep on. We can't. So you need a place that you can just go to and get it at your own time, right? And I think anyone who jumps into that, it should be a part of your day. It should be a time block of this is the lesson I'm going to learn today, and then implement that over the course of a week and just do one a week. I started with mindset. There was a Navy SEAL instructor interview I saw, and just the way he framed his teamwork and everything that went around it, it was just really powerful to me. And I broke that down of how it relates to what we all do. But yeah, I think the modern mortgage IQ system it's incredible. It's just getting started, but if you use it appropriately, I don't think you can lose.
Yeah, and I'm just going to show it real quick, and then Todd, have you kind of share your thoughts. Sean just mentioned the guided experiences. This is where Sean literally, is a guide in this platform. He gives some framing, so you've got a guy like Sean talking about mindset, and then he's taking clips from an actual head of SEALs, and he's curating it. Like he's your guide. It'd be like Sean being your producing manager for all you loan officers that don't have it. And for all you managers, this is a resource, like a 13-minute video that you can use to train your loan officers. Many of you, we've had thousands join the Modern Mortgage Summit. All that content is available for you to use, both for personal development, for managers. Like you can use this content to recruit, train, and retain loan officers. And it's all organized around these pillars. So everything you need organized around pillars. Todd, any thoughts you have on this as we make it actionable for folks and we wrap things up?
Well, we talked about, I don't think that anyone's going to argue the fact that these 8 pillars are super important in your business and you need to improve most likely in all of them, but it's curated content, right? It's all short informational bites, right? The Modern Mortgage Summit, the longest content from that is 18 minutes. And then when we have these guided experiences, it's even shortening it up from there and just giving a deeper dive into particular content and topics. And so it really gives you the opportunity to figure out, hey, I'm going to do a deep dive and this is where I want to learn today. And then we've got this modern spin on it with these guided experiences. Mine was on sales IQ. I took some of the exactly what to say strategies and I talk about that. We've got Phil Jones as a guide. He's created a guided experience for us as well. And so there's just really going to be great opportunity for you to sharpen yourself if you're a branch manager, to use it to sharpen those around you that are counting on you to help them be better in 2025.
Yeah, and there's also an assessment you can take as part of the process. So all that is at modernmortgageiq.com. Can't emphasize enough. Check it out. I'm pumped to be a guide. Jeremy Forcier is a guide. Shayla Gifford is a guide. A lot of the top 1% mortgage professionals, we're all committing some time to create some content. And it's just one video per week. So while there's this library of all this content, I think there's like over 80 training pieces. Once a week, there'll be a less than 18-minute guided experience put up from one of the top 1% producing managers. So we got 2 minutes left. Sean, any just closing thoughts, word of advice that you want to give people? And also, are you starting to do your mindset workshop? Anything that folks should know about? You're on mute, Sean. You're on mute. Oh, maybe you can't get it off mute.
Sorry, I killed my minute. So I just want to touch on this. I'll talk about mindset at another time, the event I'm doing. But the definition of modern is relating to the present or recent times as opposed to the remote past. I think the word modern can be very intimidating to a lot of us. It doesn't mean you have to use tech. I think it just goes from sales, going away from sales and into service is becoming modern. That's what people want in this day and age. They don't want to be sold. want to be served.
Yeah, the only pushback I have on that is that to do that, you need to use tech.
Yeah, you
Another
have to, but
part of modern marketing is, having data, know who in your database needs help, can save money, be able to do that at scale, and then be able to deliver that experience in a way that people consume on their device. So there is a technology enablement if you want to be level 5. If you want to be level 1, level 2, maybe not. Todd, closing thoughts, my friend.
I started off with the word evolution, and so I love this whole idea that we all want to be better. We want to evolve to be the best version of ourselves that we can be, and I think that when it comes to this whole idea of the modern mortgage process and really being the best servants to our clients, to our realtor partners, we know where we need to improve, and I just love the fact that we've got a tool that'll help get us there faster. I love this community. Super pumped, Sean, to hear about your mindset event. So we're going to stay tuned for that because I know it's something that we can all benefit from. And, as always, I feel like we've got the best community in the mortgage industry, and we're the people that can provide the best value to those who count on us. And we just have to continue to improve. And, that long quote that you gave about learning, unlearning, and relearning, Dave, I think is now more important than ever.
Yeah, and it looks like Andy, it's good to see you, brother. Good to hear you signed up. Walt Schultz also signed up, and Sean, thanks for the nice feedback. So hey guys, hope you got value. Uh, SavageInsights.com. If you're not following SavageInsights.com, make sure you follow it today. All like to sign up for this. Many of you signed up. It was at the top of Savage Insights. Every day I update that page. I think the second link down, it has the mobile club. 2, 3 times a week, I am sending out a message that's all about turning loan officers into level 5 modern mortgage advisors. So make sure you're following that as well. Sean Herrera, dude, love being on this journey with you. Love all the value you bring to the community. Have fun at the cross country sales rally. Say hi to everybody from me. And
definitely will.
Todd, great call. Let's go.
Dude, it's
Let's
always
win by
great to
noon,
see y'all on
guys.
a Tuesday. Whoops, I almost missed the camera.
Yeah, we got 2 hours to win by noon, everybody. Let's go. Let's get
Let's
it.
All
do
right,
it.
see you guys. Thank you so much.
Take care, everybody.